allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's start out with the public hearing. I'll snuck it out.
Okay. For the budget?
Is for the budget?
2024 budget? Yes. The floor is open for public comment from anyone regarding the 2024 budget that has been posted out to taxpayers. Does anybody have any comment or questions?
Could I make a request? You just kind of provide just some brief highlights about what you know about taxes and those kind of things.
Yep, currently our current levy is $665,766. With the new budget, we're looking at $688,753, and I'm also asking for a levy appeal of $42,000. The town's assessed value increased enough, adding in our levy appeal, that even with that and the new budget, our tax rates are going to go down 0.25%.
Cool. Nice. Thank you.
As it's estimated right now.
Thank you. In reality, is it'll probably drop even more because it's usually these rates are high initially till they do their DLGF magic. We need a motion to approve it. You need to know if you want to close. Anybody got any comments or anything before we close it? You can just public hearing's closed. There you go. I'm looking for approval of the agenda with flexibility. I so move.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. We just want to go right down to the next one here? Yeah, I think. Yep. Yeah. Public hearing about rezone request for Leo Holding, the 22.328 acres out on State Road 1. I'd like to open that up for discussion.
So I kind of normally didn't was your neighbor. I was aware of the subdivision, but I was on a walk Thursday night, talked to my neighbors, and I didn't know that there were hearings. They asked if I'd gotten a certified letter. I said no. So I'm dismayed and disappointed that I wasn't able to attend any of the hearings. Was there more than this hearing?
There was one hearing for Plan Commission, and in that case, your letter did not come back in the mail to me, so I didn't know that you didn't get it. The town council hearing, there was a mistake with your addressing, but I did get that to your wife last week, and I do apologize if there was an error.
We got it Friday afternoon. So I submit this to you guys and take a look. This is my, I'm not sure whose responsibility it was for this to be given to me, but was there a plan commission hearing too or not that I was allowed to go to?
Yeah, she said there was one, and anybody's allowed to go to that.
And the notices went out the same, but your notice didn't come back for that one. This was your
I never got it. So.
town council meeting notice, so
I
your
never
notice
got it,
was
so
supposed
That's
to-
what she's saying. You didn't get the one for the zoning.
So here's my lot was cut out in 1952 for Mrs. Leakey out of his parcel that Mr. Coons owns now. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I was the one that should be notified if anybody should have been notified of this. And I was fine with it developing. When I bought this for my mother in 2001, I knew this was R1. So I'm not fighting that I understand that homes are going to go in there, and that's the way it is. It's been planned out that way.
Okay.
But what I'm a little bit upset about is that I was not allowed to know what was going on ahead of time until the day. I only had like a day notice, basically one business day notice. So like everybody take a look at that. It's pretty obvious where I am there.
So if you would have come to the zoning one, I guess, feel free to speak what your concerns are.
I wanted to talk to you all because I didn't have time to collect my thoughts or talk to my neighbors. It's disappointing that we're all in the R3. So I'd like to know how many more lots are we putting in here because it's R3 compared to R1?
Less.
That would be one of my main questions.
Would you like to?
Yeah, I can answer.
Okay, thank you.
Give these that you guys look at.
Actually,
Thanks, Lucio.
I'm actually going less than when I came into the planning. And I can give you one. When I came to planning, I was at 43 lots, and the new design is at 38, so I've lost lots. And the reason being is the retention ponds, I think they made them a little bigger. When we came in and talked to the planning and the zoning, the guys wanted the roads a little wider and a 90-foot radius for the buses to turn around. And I spoke to you guys and said that I wanted it to be a nice development, and I wasn't trying to pack it in. So the new drawing is actually less than what I talked to the plan commission. And when we spoke at plan commission, I think we approved the R3 to only go up to 44. And I spoke and I told you guys it would probably be less, depending on when Joe Herring, the engineer, went back and drawn. And it did come in less, it came in quite a few less. So the reason that it's R3 and not R1 was because on a couple of the cul-de-sacs, it couldn't, like on R1, there's X amount of frontage you have to have.
100 feet.
Yeah, 100 feet, and the lots are all big, but they pinch, like back on the riverside, they come down and some of them aren't 100 foot. I think there's maybe some that were under that, so that was one of the reasons why. He might have changed it now, so if you look at this print, the R3 is not a setup to try to cram more houses in. And I think when we spoke, it was only approved R3 up to 44. So.
Yeah, and you can see by the pie-shaped lots, the definition for R3 is only 60 feet across, and R1 is 100, so it's 60, and then R2 is 80 feet, and then 100. So that's the distance on the frontage. Well, these lots, many of them are 100 feet wide, but they don't have 100 feet frontage.
And how many acres or square feet are the lots?
Looks like a
Looks like a
variety.
little over, they're not a whole
I didn't
acre.
hear your question.
How large are the lots, how many acres or how many square feet? Are the smallest lot and?
So I think most of them are all 150 feet deep, and then you can see some of them got 80-foot frontages, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those look like, I'm sorry that these were so small. I think those are 85s. The main problem was like the lot 12. If you guys see on lot 12, there was a narrow frontage and then it goes back. And then also the other thing I believe, talking to Joe Herring, the engineer, I guess stand up so I'm on recording, is that this is kind of a unique property because the Fort Wayne City owns a huge easement right away that runs down. And these backyards are going to be huge because there's like all this ground, there's almost 200 feet of backyard still to the river. And some of those square footages didn't match it at the R1, but the lots would just be huge. So the R3, that was another reason for that.
So it's planned for higher end price points and larger lots
Yes, correct.
than a typical R3 would be.
So R1 is 44,000, as I said, 22,000 square feet, just a little under a half acre. R3 is down to 9,000 square feet. So what my concern is, I'm gonna have a lot more traffic, a lot more houses behind me here. And I don't have the answer, like, we could have this, Mr. Kuhn could give me the answers of that very easily before this meeting, so I apologize. But, you know, I'd like to know what would the difference have been. How many houses would we have in here if we would have left it the way it was? Because looking at like Homestead here, if you go down Hempstead's and Wilderness Creek, those are our R1 subdivisions, and I sold one in there. And you know, those lots are anywhere from a half acre to 1 acre, but the houses are worth $600,000 to $800,000. So as far as the assessment goes for the town, you're going to make more. The town's going to get more money from bigger houses like that.
I don't think these lots are small though by any means. I mean, these lots all would equal, it just has to do with the road frontages that he had to get to.
Well, the one he just says that's 12,000 square feet, so that's even below R2 as far as the size of the lot. That's a pretty small lot if you're trying to put an upscale house on.
Would you say that again for me, the site, give me that dimension you were just speaking to?
What he told was 80 by 150, that would be 12,000 square feet. So that's that's almost a third of what this was originally zoned for.
So what I done is I went up and drove around Huntertown, and there's really nice developments up in Huntertown area by Tonka Road and Coldwater Road. And when I met with Joe Herendeen, I told him that I wanted to mimic that development. And meeting with them and meeting with other builders, these would all be front load, 3-car garage fronts, and these all seem to be the widths that most of those bigger homes are built on. Now, obviously, 12 through 18 are really big. Those will be big homes, but all those along there, if you go up and look at these housing developments, and you can even pull them up and look at them in the Allen County GIS and get the lot dimensions, they're all similar. I mean, they're all about the same square footage.
As a realtor, if I would have had time, I would have pulled up the MLS and tried to verify that, like we would have talked. But from my experience, I used to have a trade business for 22 years. Lot preparation and land clearing was my specialty. And looking at a lot of these lots are, more like Pioneer Village size lots, the smaller Pioneer Village lots. Not all of them, but especially on the back here, and the one that's pretty close to me, lot 38, lot 5 to 10. I just, and maybe Justin's right. Maybe it's all fine, but me being greedy, growing up in this house, I just want the least amount of homes there. I was very comfortable with R1. I might have been comfortable with R2, but going down to R3, unless I get verified how big these lots are on average, what the smallest one is. So a lot of these questions cannot be answered tonight. I'm not coming here dumping on you guys. I feel like, I don't want to be a jerk or anything. It's just, in reading your code, your ordinance, no application shall be accepted until all items detailed below have been completed and executed by the person proposing the subdivision or his designee. The reading here. Public notice via certified return receipt to mail to the property sent by the petitioner at the expense of the petitioner to all property owners within 300 feet of the boundaries of the property to be subdivided. 10 full days prior to the hearing. An alternate method of notification consists of an affidavit or proof of mailing which the developer certifies personally been delivered via public notice hearings to the owners or has obtained signatures from the property owner to be notified. This shall be notarized as well. So what I'm saying is the application is deficient from the word go. According to our own law or ordinances here in Little Cedar.
Mr. Attorney?
I don't know.
Okay.
He's correct that, we're supposed to give notice to people within a certain area, and we attempted to do that. Often in questions like this, if there was a substantial attempt made at compliance, that is sufficient. Whether or not and I would frankly guess there's probably case law that deals with similar statutes that answer that question, and I don't know the answer. And I also don't know what the error in the address was, but apparently there was one.
There was an error made, and the
Not
letter
only the name,
reached.
not only the last name, I'm sorry, but the address is wrong, and everybody knows that one side of the road is even, one side of the road is odd, it's an odd address with the last name wrong. So what I'm saying is, I hate to come in here and make trouble, but I just feel like I'm this little guy getting squished. And Justin had a chance, he could have came and talked to me. He asked to buy me out. I gave him a price, he said he would never pay that, that's fine. But then, we have to get along, as you said, Justin.
I don't think I ever said I'd never pay that, but
That's what I heard. So, if we could have made that agreement, I wouldn't be here right now. Actually, I don't really want to move. The thing is, I just don't want to lose, the more we pack houses in there, I'm going to lose my scenic view of the river. I'm going to lose my scenic view of the a tributary there. But if you put less houses, I don't think it's gonna affect me as much. That's how I feel. And that's how I felt when I bought the property, it was zoned R1. So, it's just very peculiar to me, the person that, my property is, if you look at his plan here, my property is, if you look at the plat map, I'm like a big notch out of there. So, and also, to the attorney's statement, I kind of read up on this. If I would have missed this hearing, I probably would have had to file suit. But since I'm here, I think I have more standing. That's all I feel about it.
I don't know if I can speak or not. but-
Sure. We're just, you're not being mean. You wouldn't believe what people come in here and yell at us. You're being polite.
The thing is, I think he's doing a nice subdivision.
Yeah.
It's a little, I feel more like I was stomped on, like, okay, we'll send this to the wrong address. I don't think you did that, Justin, that's what it feels
Oh,
like.
I didn't mail it.
No,
The
town
I
The
mailed
town
them.
knows.
Yeah.
I'm
So it
accepting
definitely wasn't him.
responsibility. It was me and my assistant who took on the mailing of these letters, and an error was made. It was published in the paper properly more than 10 days in advance. The letters were to arrive to your homes 10 days in advance. I'm sorry I did not get your letter back. And I couldn't tell from the error where it was actually supposed to go, to be honest, because of the dyslexing of the names and the numbers.
Well, I gave you a plat map there, showing,
But we did send to 300 feet from the property.
I'm connected.
And the plan commission notice never came back.
I didn't read it, so.
So I can't explain that.
Maybe it went to the case or
This past year.
I'll speak, I don't wanna I'm not here to upset anybody, I want everybody to have adequate time.
Nobody's upset at
And
you.
I'm willing to wait, if we need to wait, so you can do some more due diligence and wait till the next, I think you guys meet on the 1st and 3rd, of every month.
That's not good enough for me. I want to start over.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
I'd like to talk to the planning commission.
I understand. I mean, we're up here contemplating right now, waiting one meeting. And, in my opinion, we wouldn't wait any longer because that'd be your 10 days. It's actually 14 or more. And that's more than enough than our rules say.
What about the meeting with the zoning committee?
Well, the plan commission is not the official entity that can approve a rezone. What they do is, they did the findings and asked the questions and had people speak, and then they make a recommendation to council. But it is the council who makes the final decision.
That's where I feel like I was stepped over.
And I apologize for that. It was an error, and I didn't make the planning one either. Not that, I feel like I had something to say about it as well. And it concerns me. It's right out my backyard. I live right on the other side of the river, and now I'm gonna see houses instead of, the hawks and all the herons and all that. So it affects me as well. And I know not as in my backyard like you, but I'll have to see houses now, because he's gonna clean the trees up, which I would if I was building for the river view, because that's what the goal is, as you well know.
Can I ask another question, guys?
Yeah, you can ask questions.
So,
Nobody's up here smack.
It's my understanding that the parcel behind us will be developed as well, or that's Justin's goal. So I want to know, are we going to rezone that too, or?
Would you say that again?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there, I
Your
guess.
understanding what, please?
You would like to buy the parcel behind me.
Oh, that's possible.
I talked to, I don't know if this is hearsay, I talked to the farmer's willing to sell it to him if he can find another farm. In the long run, this is not gonna hurt me as far as my value. I believe the realtor is going to raise the value of my house. Like we're gonna have more comps. It's hard to comp my house right now. So I think financially, I don't know if it's gonna hurt me that bad. I just feel like I was stepped over, and I don't want that many lots in there if that's what we're trying to do.
Mr. Vice President, may I have the floor? for a
Yes,
moment?
please.
So, Mr. Pence, I appreciate that you contacted me to let me know of your desire to come before council. And you're having that moment, obviously, this evening. You may have some more. My thinking is, in my judgment of this man over here, is he's an honest businessman. And he's all businessmen like you and I and everyone else that's in business wants to make a living. But I think he's an honest businessman, and he has, in my snap judgment, very good character, just like I think you do. And so my question to you is this: at where we find ourselves right now in terms of timing, what would make you feel like you're whole at this point? What would, yeah, and I'm not trying to put you in a box, so don't read me wrong.
If I knew how many extra lots we're putting in here rezoning this, that would really make me feel better.
With less.
Less.
He came to us with 44 lot request.
No, but for R1 zoning is what I'm saying. When I went before the zoning board, I want to know how much more houses are we putting in there? Because we're putting more houses, there's no way you're gonna get, you know, I mean, like you take 23 acres, take out your ponds, your streets, and half-acre lots, it's gotta be a lot more lots than you look at.
I think he said R1 was 44 lots, and now it got rezoned to R3 and went to 38.
The math doesn't.
No, that's the other way.
Oh, the other way.
I don't know that, I don't know,
Oh.
because I don't know that to state and just be
Yeah.
honest and
Oh.
say. I can't remember, I know that Joe looked at it and drew it, and then he came back and he said with those eyebrows on there, it didn't meet the R1 frontage, the little cul-de-sac, because there wasn't enough frontage. So he said, me being an engineer, I recommend that you go back and ask for R3, so we can put the bump outs and see. And I understand Mr. Pence's concern, and that was the first thing when I came in here, and I told you guys, I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, and looking to get R3, and I'm gonna show back up with the plot where I've got 65 homes in here, and I even recommended to the planning commission not to approve any more than 44 to keep the community happy. And I more than kept my word, and I come back with less, and most developers in today's world don't do that.
So to continue for a moment, if I may, this is going to be my suggestion to council, and for everyone to hear as a matter of public record, I guess. My suggestion would be, council, that we direct our town attorney, Mr. Bailey, and his associate, whoever's in charge over there, okay, to look into that, to try to come up with some kind of finding as to
Sure.
what makes sense in this situation. And one, and two, maybe we can, between now and our next meeting, we would know then for sure what the density would be on an R1 versus R3. Because I think that's your question too, right, Mr. Pence? And if we do that, then I think that we've got more guidance.
Yeah, I'm not here to disagree with any of that, but what would you like?
I just would like a little more time to speak to Mr. Kuhn, and we can work things out, and I need a little more time to do some research, and, neighbors thought we were upgrading, not downgrading.
So, Mr. Pence,
They thought we were upgrading, not downgrading.
Mr. Pence, our next council meeting, and correct me if this is wrong, I think it's October 17th.
I don't know, without a calendar, I'm lost.
Well, I barely have this little guy here running
It is
tonight.
October
Yes,
17th at
October
6.
October 17th is correct.
Yes.
Oh, hallelujah, I got that one right.
So it's 14 days, that's more than a 10-day. But
And-
what do you want our attorney to do? I guess I was a little confused.
Well,
on
that was about the notice, the question of the
My
proper
2 cents
notice.
worth is if the developer is willing to see this put off for 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart. I got no issue there.
I don't see why we wouldn't also, I don't see the harm in having the planning commission hearing also, because that's the one where he apparently did not get wind of it, and he's supposed to have gotten wind of it. We may well be able to argue that all of this is enough to bring us into compliance, but we know he didn't get wind of it, we know he didn't get to speak to the planning commission. I don't think it would be, again, given that the developer is willing to cooperate on this, having an additional planning commission hearing, and whether that's before the next meeting, or frankly, it may be possible to have the hearings conducted at the same time at the next meeting.
It would be my thinking that what you said is spot right on and the best way to do it, because if we don't do that, we have a resident that feels, my words, maybe not yours, stepped on at this point, at least certainly. It was an accident. I have no doubt this was nothing was done intentionally here. But that would be a good way to maybe do the correction process, exactly what you're talking about. That's my recommendation to the
Do we need a
council.
motion to table this until?
Jason, would you like to have separate zoning, all one? If we do separate, they're gonna be back to back. all one. It doesn't make me no difference. I'm just here to tell you, it really doesn't. I'm just
We
asking.
set it up that way, maybe Justin and I can, he can answer my questions, or we can work something out, and then.
So would you like one first and the next, or all
You
one?
might be able to cancel the one, or tell you that.
Can we set the planning commission for 5:30?
Oh, that was where I was going with it.
Can I have hers, does she, do you have anything to say on it?
Yeah, feel free. Well, nobody here is mad. We're trying to figure out when we make, yeah, we're trying to figure out a solution.
My
Yeah.
questions aren't so much the zoning, my questions is what type of barrier are you planning to put between us and your
I was
neighborhood?
thinking some mounding pine trees or something.
Pretty
that-
trees. And then is there any thoughts of like
I think we
the
ought to do
traffic
a motion
control
and then
once
5:30
these houses, many cars start going up that
Planning,
road?
so make sure we
We have a hard time getting out our driveway now at times. So is there gonna be a way to like lower the traffic
I think so,
speed
right?
limit or something in that area?
Let me deal
So
with that.
I do not know anything about the traffic. I can come over here and speak so you can get some record. So I do not know anything about the traffic speed. I have obviously been working with NDOT, and I'll have to put in like a 150-foot turn lane in a blister, I believe it's called. From what I've heard, there's 4,000 traffic count vehicles on the road right now. And,
It's a busy road.
Derek, you're Derek, right? You're the engineer?
Yeah, there.
Like, what does a development of 38 do to the traffic? I mean, minimal, minuscule, or is?
So when you submit for a driveway application to NDOT, they will be looking at trips generated by your development.
Gotcha.
And they will require you to make improvements that are consistent with their access standards.
Okay.
My suspicion is for the size of that development, what you have shown on your primary is probably what they're going to require.
Okay.
Your question about the speed limit
Well, I mean,
makes a lot of sense. I don't mean to, but if it's on Route 1, it's an NDOT thing, it's not something that,
Yeah, any of us can
and
do.
they can come out, Leo, awfully fast.
Well, and
if
we've been
people are
dealing with
turning
that.
left and everything, you're gonna have a lot, it's just me.
I know that I'm gonna have to put turn lanes in it, and I know that Joe Aaron and Sauer Engineering has been working with, his name's Jason Hanaway, NDOT to get all that, but as far as, the speed limits, I have no idea.
We don't get to, I think maybe we can discuss a lot of this with them. I mean, I had a question about the sidewalk to Leo now, or
Oh, yeah.
sidewalk, I mean, just
Yes.
like, you know what I'm saying, my mind was spinning, so I just tried to not think about it till I got here. I didn't make it cover, I just came in and told you my heart.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to table this particular discussion surrounding zoning and anything pertaining that might need to come before council regarding this proposed subdivision, okay? Until our next meeting, which I believe will be October the 17th. And should it be required to have a preliminary plan commission meeting prior to that, you know, that would be backdrop for council then. That's my motion. Long and wordy, I know. I'm long and wordy. I am.
So you're postponing and then want a planning commission before the town council meeting,
I
right?
think so.
And we can get all that done, Tina? Can we get it notified and everything?
I can, but may I ask a question?
Yeah.
So we're going to hold a plan commission meeting to rehear the rezoning they've already recommended. Is
Yes.
that right? Okay.
Yes.
So they could overturn their decisions.
That's correct.
yeah, I think they should start with a clean slate.
No.
Okay, so I'll send a notice to
Hang on a
plan
second.
commission and see if
We
they can
have-
do that.
We got a motion right now.
I have a motion on the floor, but I don't have a time limit on it. And all I'm saying, in my motion, I thought I was saying that the plan commission meeting, whatever time would be selected, would be prior to council. That was
Okay.
my motion.
Okay.
That takes a second or die.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Now, if I may, does that satisfy you at this moment, sir? Thank you.
I apologize.
No, it's,
Mr. Pence, you're fine. Are you okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Wait till the 17th.
I mean-
that's planned.
Yes.
Very good.
All right, so I'd like to close that public hearing now.
Are you, just a quick question, are you gonna have to resend out all the public notices and everything again?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, just asking.
be nice if we get them right. I'm sure we will. 10 of that stuff just happens. My first Board of Zoning Appeals meeting I ran, and we had somebody that was totally missed. You're up.
Yeah, minutes. Anybody got any questions about the minutes that were sent out from last meeting, September 19th?
I move to approve the minutes as submitted and distributed.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Have a good night.
Call for the
Call
question.
for the question?
Man, don't forget your purse.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
you might need that.
Yeah, I call for the question.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Clerk treasurer.
Vouchers being passed around in the amount of $85,370.26. There is a voucher in there for the renewal of the Keystone accounting software, which is approximately $6,100. If I can get approval on that, I will sign the contract for that for another year. And then there's also a voucher approval in there for the, see if I say this right, dedication of right of way for the Schlatter property.
For the
I move
Cedar Creek
to-
Trail.
Okay, I move to approve $85,370.26 by voucher total as distributed here at the table.
I'll second that.
Any questions or concerns, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anything else, Angela? 2024 budget discussion and first reading approval.
Hit me with all your questions.
I know there was some talk last time, I guess, about the extra officer position that was requested to be budgeted. And obviously, we have some data in front of us in regards to statistical need, I guess, based on actual run volumes and data. What will that do to our budget if we continue down the current path with leaving that in there, I guess, just for, so.
At the current budgeted amount that I was asked to put in there, we will, it'll take us in the red for that fund account. So that's my suggestion, was to bring that number down by half, keep us in the black, so that when we start 2024, we're good to go. Again, I'm still waiting to hear whether everybody's even on board. So,
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
we have to have a balanced budget that takes reducing that number per our clerk treasurer's suggestion. My recommendation is to follow her thinking on that and to take her recommendation.
I agree. I thought we were trying to slowly work over the next year or two to try to build that up since it was in the red. Was I under the wrong impression?
It's kind of rough. Understanding.
Yeah, someone left the meeting, I won't say who time, but he wasn't sure. So I was, John, was you here
Was I here for?
when we were talking about that extra officer?
Yes, but not in the, if you talked about it in the afternoon, you probably did. That's one meeting I was not able to attend due to family things. But, yeah, the one piece of advice, if it's sage at all, from a guy that has been clerk treasurer and been involved with this town for 19 years in one way or another in government service, is you know what? You always have to have a balanced budget, and that means that something has to, if you really want something badly, then you have to give up something else if you don't have the revenue stream. And it's, to me, it would not be a matter of building up a fund, it would be a matter of, you need to cash flow yourself every year based on tax receipts and miscellaneous revenues that are gonna come in. That's my advice to those of you that will be here after I'm long since gone.
I think, I mean, based on the data that we have in front of us, I think we're talking probably statistically at best a 5-year, at worst a 10-year issue. And I think by that point, with new development coming in, I think we'll have the tax base to possibly need that and be able to fund that. I don't have a problem leaving the line item in there as long as we do it at the end to a balanced budget.
Oh,
So-
I agree. I mean, why would we not do a balanced budget?
So, and that came out of, that fund was, what fund was that was?
it's part out of the general fund and it's part out of our lit.
Lit.
Our lit is where we are going to
To-
lose the funds.
Okay,
So currently, you guys, I was asked to put $40,000 in lit. I need to know what you guys would like me to bring that back to.
Want it back to a balanced budget, so.
Gosh, took the words out of my mouth. It's like,
If that
you
means it's
tell us.
20,000, yeah, like, I don't have that number right in front of me, I guess. I
mean-
probably pull it up on the email, but,
Oh, you mean the sheet I sent you?
yes.
It takes us a negative 2,000 basically.
So,
What do you recommend to be balanced?
I'm asking for the levy appeal, which I'm gonna ask you guys all earlier to sign in the budget hearing, which will give us another 40 grand, but that can be spread out to use for other items as well. So I don't wanna throw all of that into this.
No.
In all honesty, if we're not going to pull in a full-time second resource officer, then I don't think we need to pull in more than, I don't know, what do we think part-time officers are gonna be? Because I know there was discussion of hiring the part-time off-duty officers.
Yeah, and that's gonna be more of an as needed and as see fit through Officer Peters and this council. So I mean, we don't know that answer in my opinion, and we definitely don't wanna go upside down, and I agree with Tyler. I mean, adding another full-time officer, I mean, that's 3 to 5 years. And that depends on the growth that we can get Justin doing.
Mr.
If I said 30 grand, would you guys be in agreement to that, just to give us some flexibility there?
I'm in agreement with whatever you would like. You're the
John?
treasurer.
Well, all I'm asking for is that, and for council, is that we have a balanced budget, okay? That we appropriate based upon making a balanced budget. And secondly, to council, you can always move an appropriation around. And if it turns out that you want it up in this section and you don't have enough money there, you can, by resolution, literally move money from another section that's appropriate that you don't think you're going to use. I would caution using rainy day money. Rainy day money is when
It's not raining.
you know what I'm saying, when you really have a special need to use it that way. So, if you're having a long-term cash flow requirement, then you need to have long-term cash flow receipts coming in as well. So you're thinking right as a council, I can tell.
correct me if I'm wrong, originally it was budgeted, I think this year at 16.2 in lit, is that correct for the officer? Am I close?
So little, I can't see it.
I think for some reason 16.2
Pass
feels
it back.
right. Yeah.
Never mind, you're not working for me.
And then you took it up to
No, the 23 budget was 37.1.
37.1.
Right.
Okay.
We increased it to 40,000 along with what we have in general. If I can find it, I can't see. Can't read it.
Then
There it is. In general, we had police at 16, and we are, I believe, doubling that number.
okay. I haven't flip-flopped, sorry.
Sorry.
I said I had them flip-flopped in my mind.
Oh, that's okay.
I had the categories flip-flop. I would recommend we pull that back to what it currently is, so we guarantee even if we don't get, so you're saying with 2,000, if we leave it where it's at, we're gonna be 2,000 over, right?
Right.
We're only 3,000 off of what the current number is, roughly $2,800 or whatever. I would say we take it back to current budget year,
Okay.
and that would put us into a balanced budget, if my math is correct.
That sounds right to me. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
She agreed to that.
Well, lucky there.
So if I understand right, nothing for a second officer in this year,
Full-time.
full-time, yes,
Nothing
yes,
else.
yes.
But it's my understanding that this line item could be a placeholder for part-time if we did want to augment and,
Right. But to keep us in balance, we're just going to pull it back.
That's exactly right.
At this point.
Makes sense.
So if we're going to approve the budget tonight, is that what we're doing? That's my question.
first reading.
Yeah, it's just the first reading.
First reading, okay. That gives you time to
Make adjustments.
get your numbers where they need to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at the adoption hearing, I'll represent it.
Any other budget discussion from even anybody in the audience?
Like I said, I'd have one, what's the percent that's in for salaries for, excuse me, for employees?
It currently stands at what was originally requested at 8%.
Does it, okay, and that's all elected officials, I assume?
That was all elected officials and town employees.
Okay, good. And then, back when we hired, when you were hired, it seems to me that there was a variance of an amount of money, but I don't remember what that was from what we currently had. Has that been cared for in this budget or not? In other words, has this lady been made whole? Or am I in the wrong? Is my brain not right here? It seems to me that she was shorted some amount of money. I don't know.
Don't ask if your brain's right, please.
It's not that kind of meeting.
I'm so sorry.
I believe there was some, I think we did the 8% raise
Will take
across the board. But I don't believe it accounts for any kind of deficit that was off the previous ordinance. The position was offered and accepted at X, and that's the starting base and moving forward.
And that was why we had to redo the salary.
Right,
ordinances.
the ordinances.
Okay.
And I
was an error
believe
on the precedent, unfortunately, just.
we talked about the next ordinance cycle that we do, doing a range with, instead of doing exact numbers.
Yeah, I understand. And that's the one meeting, I guess, you probably talked about that in your other, in that afternoon meeting, or, okay, I get that, and it is what it is. And the only question I have for you, are you okay with that sort of thing? I mean.
Are you okay with an
'Cause I don't know
8%
where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have not talked
No,
about this, I don't even know the number, but are you at peace with
I
this?
accepted the position and I am fine where I'm at.
Okay, you're at peace with that, okay, because yeah, I'm not gonna be here, but another 90 days or whatever it turns out to be, and I want to make sure that everybody's taken care of, right? Okay, yeah, then I have nothing else on budget. Thank you.
Anybody? We'll skip over the next one.
You're Mr. Jack.
Community crossing, closeout, Albina Drive.
So at the conclusion of our Elvina Street project, we actually came in 27,459 under budget. Yes. That is because we removed some drainage from the project up front, and that knocked our pricing down. And despite a small change order, I mean, the change order is really just to decrease the 27,000. So upon approval of this agreement that we signed for community crossings, we owe NDOT back 19,000 of what they fronted us for this grant.
Is that a rounded number or an exact
It
number?
is rounded.
Okay,
It's-
good, I understand. Thank you.
That's okay.
It seems like it should tell me right here in front of me.
And we've got it, Elvina's repaired, right? The repave's done, it's passed all inspections.
Yep,
Yep.
yep, they came back.
And we're looking for a motion to approve the closeout. If so, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the closeout? All in favor?
I really appreciate the fact that you're actually saying before council, is there any discussion? Because that's important, because sometimes we miss
I've
that.
been cut out a few times, so I appreciate that.
Sorry.
Well, and the one time in prior meeting,
That's the
I
meeting, yeah.
thought you were, yeah.
Sorry.
so, Cool.
Yeah, it was actually $19,094.25.
Well, there we go.
NDOT.
Could you just send that over to Derek? Okay. Oh,
There was, on one of the agenda items, there was a planning commission, and it's not on this agenda, figuring out step back.
Oh, he wanted us to table that because he wasn't gonna be here. And I know one of the appointments is a council president appointment. And I think when you choose between yourselves, I don't think that's a council president appointment, that's you all.
so, are you talking about the planning?
Yes.
All right, so, and
I just, in light of the situation before us and the fact that we're meeting before the next meeting, I think we need to make sure that we are compliant fully. We have a chance to do this right. Have you been brought into the loop on this at all?
Yes,
You mean the question about how many plan commission members can be on?
council.
From council?
Yes, and the state public access counselor said it should not be a quorum, or they should be considered concurrent meetings and publicly notified as such. So we need to replace one of our plan commission members who also serves council.
Because right now, you said you have 3 of you all on. I mean, I'm not, the bottom line is, if the access counselor has weighed in, there's no use in debating semantics with him, and probably ought to do what he suggests.
I guess I didn't quite understand why it wasn't on the agenda after I read that, because I think we need, especially in light of the current situation, we need to take care of this. Either one of us needs to step down, or
So
May
there's,
I speak to that?
please.
Okay, thank you. We're being so polite up here. So, I think that the number of people that were put on plan commission, been doing that for years, was an effort by people to control things. It just doesn't feel right to me. So for that reason, I'm willing personally to step down, since I'm going to be out anyway from plan commission. And let's do this. I'll just verbally resign from plan commission this evening. You can put that in the minutes, okay? So now I'm no longer on the plan commission. And that way you don't have a quorum, but then we need, I think, before, please, while I'm still here, address that issue and get that right, because I don't think we're right having.
well, and the issue only comes back up because if Mr. Jones stays on next year, he's already on now, so he's like.
So in my opinion, when he accepts this, that takes him out of that, and it comes back to this, if we want to put him on or not,
Right.
because he's accepted a new position. That's how I look at it. That doesn't mean it's right. You know, when you take a new position at Parkview, you don't stay in your old one.
No,
When
but
you
it's
get promoted,
it's different
you
when you're.
to a captain on the police
Right.
department, you don't stay patrol.
I assume that at some point an ordinance was passed that said, this is how we're going to select the plan commissioner. We could easily put together an ordinance that amends that portion of the planning statute to do that. And if part of that we're going to put in there that we no more than 2 council members on the plan commission, that's easily done and probably sensible.
You know what, I so move that council direct our town attorney to do exactly what he said, to prepare an ordinance along those lines. That's my motion.
Do we need a motion or just consensus?
I'm making a motion for a reason, because
Then I'll second that motion.
this needs to be cleaned up, and this will be officially, it's not going to be easily undone.
Any discussion on this motion of going down to 2? And,
Let him.
yeah, let him handle it. And then Tina, who plans these meetings?
I do.
Oh, okay. Would you let Mr. Jones know that this is our plan? And
He's good through the end of the year.
yeah.
Yeah, he's good, then
We'll
you're
revisit
stepped
it
up.
at the beginning. Well, I just don't want him to have false thing in his head. Just let him know what we're doing and why. We're trying to be compliant. I would appreciate that.
We got a motion on the floor in a second. So,
All right. Any discussion?
That motion was to have an ordinance drawn, correct?
Yep.
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, let's going back to that. Are we down a person now? Well, I mean, besides John.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be down 2.
And one of those is a president appointment. And that's not till January. He
So we'll be
gave
down to
notice that
John
he's resigning
and
at the
we'll be
end of his term. And
Oh, who's-
it's, Jeff Schumacher.
Okay, so he's resigning at the end of his term.
Oh, okay.
January.
I mean, so then,
So right
Like-
now you're 1 short.
One shot.
in the next meeting, if they have one. Okay. I just was confused on when you were talking earlier. I thought I'd be down a bunch.
No.
Okay.
No, I was just giving you notice so you'd have 2 months to find somebody. You know, because he said he would be done in January.
Yeah, and I know there's people.
And we can have a meeting without that position next time. I don't think that'll be an issue. It should still give us our numbers, right?
Yeah, you still have 6 members.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. All right. Dedication, new and old unfinished business of 9302 Hostler Road, right away for Cedar Creek Trail.
Yeah, so I guess we don't have to do these individually probably, but we have been doing them as each of the packets have gone out for right away. And I did obtain the signatures and got the final paperwork for the Schlotters property on Hostler. And that is signed and ready to go. And it was in the vouchers that were approved today, so if it's all, I guess, I don't know if you can imply approval of the right-of-way, but that's all I needed is your approval on that. And the only thing left is the corner at 1 and, oh, I might go blank, 1 and Hostler, right?
Yeah, the Lightfoot property.
Yeah,
She's
that's the
gonna
only one
dedicate a
left.
little corner there for the crossing.
And then we'll be done with all the right-of-way for Cedar Creek Trail. So this is next to last.
So we're looking for a motion.
I don't,
Do we need a motion to approve the right of way? I'll make that motion.
To accept
Yeah,
the,
I make the motion to approve the right of way for the Cedar Creek Trail 9302 Hostler.
I'll second that.
any discussion on this? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
And then we still have one more before we can put it out to bed?
We can put it out to bid. Because if
Been
for
hearing this
some
for
reason
months.
that property owner decides to not participate, we don't need to do that part of the project.
There's already a sidewalk there, is what you're saying.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not critical for us to be able to do our project.
it'll just be nicer.
So when do we think it's gonna go out for bid?
So, we are prepared to advertise in 3 weeks. I did get a call from the county highway department asking if the town would be interested in talking about combining the two projects into one bid package. I just had that conversation yesterday, I just shared it with Tenna today. I don't really have any details to share with the council whatsoever, but I would say we would be prepared to have a conversation with you about it at the next meeting, if that's even a good idea. So the short version is in 3 weeks, or if the council decides they want to partner with the highway department, there would probably be maybe a little further out to bid the project.
But still be bid this year.
But still bid this year. I understand they're ready. They just secured their last parcel as well.
Point of information, if I may. To you, sir, would you tend to think that by combining the two, so that's a larger bid package, so to speak, that we might get better pricing?
I think you could flip a coin
Okay.
to determine if it was beneficial or not, because right now you're at about a 1.9, 1.2 construction project. You add their component, now it's just say a $4 million construction project, and whoever secures the work has to be able to bond all that, and whoever who secures the work has to have the capacity to build all that. Where somebody might have the capacity to do a $2 million project, so you don't.
You just don't know.
And
Economy
then,
of scales obviously is beneficial because you can distribute your general conditions over a larger project. But at the same time, it's gonna limit the type of contract who can bid the bigger work.
It'll limit the number of potential contractors.
Yes,
Is that a good statement, you
it's a
think?
good statement. Yeah.
and
Okay,
then
thank
if
you.
we partner with them, then they probably won't have much flexibility with us. I would imagine.
You know what, I think that the county highway department has been great to work with in Lake Cedar. I'll use the Great World Bridge as a good example. I would be optimistic that if you wanted to partner with them, I have no doubt that it would be a good project.
Thank you.
And there would be some consistencies where we connect the trails together. And there, I mean, that's just one small piece of it, but, there would be at least, the person doing each side would know how they're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
other-
it's,
Be continuity.
yeah,
That's the
but
word.
Yeah.
limiting and then taking longer is concern. I see both sides of it. I mean, I don't know. Good news is we got 2 weeks,
There you go.
and I'll be waiting right here for you. Town manager report.
Trees.
Oh, we got the trees. Oh, thank goodness. NDOT, plant trees, State Road 1 curve, so we don't see the water that
So-
nobody sees.
I think they were more concerned about seeing the road,
I know that. I was
but
being,
just to clarify.
He was being piddly. That's Yoder.
because the next time I come down, I couldn't wait to look.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had to struggle to see the water.
Rarely, yeah, I know. You can kind of see it in this picture. Yeah, so when I did get this request from NDOT, I know Brent went out and got a quote for 10 trees, which is great. We don't have to put that many in, although, yeah, that would fill in the space. We could put in fewer. And Angela had a good idea of putting a mound there, like mounding up dirt and then putting trees behind, so it's really obvious you can't go there. Or it would at least stop the speeding cars, was just the real issue, stop the speeding cars from going as far off the road. So NDOT just wanted us to look at this and consider ways that we could help fix the damage that's been done.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney here, that we can't do much with anything on that curb besides trees or what they want. Like, we couldn't put a guardrail 20 or 30 feet back into the grass, could we? Away from the road?
Not if it's in the NDOT right away. I mean, we could do whatever, I mean, and I would suspect that if it's out of the NDOT right away, it's also, we don't own it either.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that our limitations in dealing with that issue has been something that various councils have discussed for
Yeah.
a long time.
I was
Because
on.
because it's an NDOT.
Because,
Yeah, but
He
I'm
brought
pretty
up-
sure that's why they asked us to do this, because it's out of their right of way. The trees are. And so they wanted us to do that back in our turf.
and I like the mound, but he brought up the last time that it just becomes a ramp in the winter and drunk drivers. I mean, and he's right, I didn't think about that. Now we're airborne. I've been on a lot of crashes down there, haven't we, Tyler?
And isn't that why they didn't want to do you just said it.
Guardrails.
Guardrails,
Well-
because they ricochet cars back into the traffic.
Well, that's what it's gotta
Well, that's why-
set them back a little further.
Yeah, here's the road, here's our trees, put the guardrail back here so they can slide, spin, then hit it to keep it from hitting the houses. That's it.
Can we do the
Is
cable
my
system?
thought.
I was thinking that too, yeah.
I would rather do a
Good
cable
question.
barrier than,
Yeah,
They act more like a net versus.
yeah. How can we find out if we can do that? I'm for the trees, whatever. But the problem is,
They're not gonna stop going into that house like they
Yeah.
have in the past.
well, and who's paying for the trees when they get?
we
Not
are.
us, we are.
We
when
put
they
them
get-
up, we gotta pay for them.
That's what I'm saying, when we get hit, because you know it's gonna, I mean, they've hit every sign down there, it's only a matter of time till they start taking out our trees.
I think those arrows things been replaced 2 or 3 times just this year.
Yeah. At least quarterly.
We were on council when they put those up, remember that?
Yeah, all I can remember is there's a lot of discussion with
Sounds like
people
it.
involved, and there's always someone
It is.
hitting the house or almost hitting the house. And, you know,
Which they've put the big boulder there now to
I
help.
think they hit
It
the
has
tree
helped,
this year.
but
so what do we need to get, point of order here, to get back to this, what do we need to do? Do we need council approval to plant trees tonight? Is that what we're looking for?
I would like to, I'm concerned about, I'm gonna be honest, I'm concerned about planting trees. I'm concerned about who's gonna water them, who's gonna make sure they're alive, who's gonna replace them when they get whacked. I mean,
we
that-
can't be
that's
sitting
all
down
our,
there for that.
that's all our maintenance guys, right? I mean, they're gonna be down there watering them daily, they're gonna be down there.
Whose property is it on?
That's the best question here.
It just
Whose
strikes-
property, who's got the
I
right
don't know
of way?
exactly
Mr.
what you're
Engineer.
talking about, but it strikes me as weird that there
You got
is
5
no
minutes.
property
I need to know.
between the right of way and the homeowners.
It's where the road used to be, where the used to be a
Oh,
road
wow.
that went through there, so
Oh, I see.
May I have the
NDOT
floor?
sees it as
Yeah.
their property.
John's got something.
I've asked for the floor.
Sorry.
If it's private property, we can't put anything on it. If it's public property, if it's in that right of way in a public area, we can't put anything in their right of way. If it's town public property that's not in the right of way, that's the only place that we can plant trees. Would you agree with that, sir?
If it's town property that's not in the right of way, if it's a right of way that we are no longer using, that may well not be town property.
That's true.
Well, whose is it?
Well, because
The owners.
we walked away from it at one point.
Typically, if right of way, if property that has been dedicated as public right of way is no longer used for right of way purposes, it reverts to the adjacent landowner, because that's the default rules.
Yeah.
So if you close off the street, then that probably means that the adjacent landowners own that street, although whether the tax records have ever been updated to make that so is maybe a different question.
I don't remember.
So if council, excuse me, if they're asking, if NDOT is asking us to plant trees, they would need to give us permission to plant trees in their right of way, in my view. Ooh, we got a nod for yes out there. So if we would need them to tell us that we have at our cost, at the town's cost, the approval by them to plant those trees in their right of way, because we can't be doing it on somebody else's property. And that's the only issue there for me. In regard to who waters and takes care of them and all, like, our folks that are working for the town, like, have nothing better to do, right? There's nothing better to do. And, yeah, so that's a different issue.
Can I ask, what was the cost on that trees?
If you want a guarantee or no guarantee, they're $64 is the lowest.
How big of a specimen?
6-foot tree.
So you're talking an inch and a quarter maybe in diameter spec?
Well, you're not getting much of a tree for that. No. By the time that thing would grow up and stop and work as a net,
Let's,
If it lasts that long.
it's
you
not,
guys would be planting daisies on top of my grave, I bet.
I mean,
If
you're
you even
really
know
talking
what
to get a specimen tree that's worth planting, in my opinion, you're probably looking at $225 to $300. And at that point, you're probably talking a 2 to 2 1/4 inch tree.
4-point trees, 1 to 230 per tree to plant.
And that's a 2-inch spec tree probably, correct?
They're 5-foot trees is what they have.
Spruces?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arborvitae.
Arbs?
What do you got there?
He's thinking.
And arbs aren't gonna stop your traffic.
You can see the stop.
Oh, he's standing up now, we're in trouble.
Oh, boy.
Look what you did.
I'm gonna hold my breath just for a little bit.
He can be handy.
So it doesn't, I would question the accuracy of what's here. This is the county GIS, but it's still showing the old right-of-ways there. You can see the NDOT right-of-way, so, but, you know, if you identify township,
Mr. Jarbo, can you see with those young eyes from where you are?
Well, it's still got the old roads going
Yeah.
off, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's been
It's like
gone
you've
for
never driven that
years.
curve before, right?
No.
Where's the NDOT right away on that side? If you can get rid of it.
So this is actually showing the town park building owner out into the right. So this is that yellow line right there, is there?
On
right?
the inside, what do they have on the
Yeah.
outside?
So on the outside, they're showing all of these local streets
As their right away.
as right away.
We vacated, boy, my memory is that we vacated a portion of one of those streets, or, well, we at least closed it
They
off.
can't, that's not their right of way over there.
No.
We closed a street, do I remember that right?
Yeah, we closed, 2 of them there. Because that was the problem, the street went straight,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it turned.
That's right.
And that's what
Right.
threw everybody off, when
That's
you had a few
exactly
drinks.
Yeah.
So it would be a good time, at minimum, be a good time to get that cleaned up with county, so that at least the mapping gets updated as you go about researching.
Should we table this discussion for a meeting?
Yeah, but how we need to get to the bottom of it, and how are we gonna do that? I mean, how are we gonna find
We
out?
need to start by finding out where the who owns what.
Yeah,
That's a good question. You can't put trees on private property.
yeah.
Let's table this for a meeting.
Well, we do, but if we table it, we still need to know who owns what. How are we gonna find that out?
Yeah.
So I will
I'm just
work
saying,
with the
discussion.
county and NDOT, and I could ask them about the guardrail idea further back, what they would
Away
say
from
to
the
that.
road.
And I
put-
can
put a
talk
little
with
bit on
them
the
too
side there.
about who owns it.
Derek's dying to help you. Yeah, he's dying to help you, I can tell.
Council members, my memory is that discussion with NDOT folks back in the day, they were concerned about, you know, certain items there as a matter of public safety for someone that actually had a wreck on that location, whether they were sober or under the influence of something they shouldn't be. They were concerned about the impact into something that would actually hurt them worse than maybe knocking down what we see already. I'm just saying that. So
No, I agree, and I think the guardrail up on the road, I understand that, on an icy road and that curve, it's just gonna sling them right back over in the oncoming. The question is, if we put it 20, 30 yards back, or, 10, 20 yards, where they won't sling back, is, I think, the question at hand, and who owns the property, can we even do it?
I'm in agreement.
And then I would feel comfortable putting items in that would have a potential to live, I guess. Right? I mean, that's because,
Trees and people, there you go.
All
yeah.
right, moving on. Let's table it.
We've tabled that, okay, for a meeting, right?
Yep.
Yep, next meeting.
When the meeting
Hannah?
is tabled.
Well, most of the things that are on my manager report, we've kind of hit on today. So I don't know if you had any questions for me on projects we're working on. You heard the update on the trail.
I personally don't have any. Any other councilmen have any questions for our town manager?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
If you haven't been downtown yet, the new benches are in place.
I'm excited about them.
There was a small error ordering them, and they came with backs on them, which in some ways is kind of better. They're more visible. We are tabling the ADA ramps, so Brett and I are trying to get quotes, but we did not get any quotes back when I put it out.
Did you talk to
I've talked to multiple companies.
Myers?
I have a name for
We
you.
talked about that. Did we reach out to him?
Did,
He wasn't one of them, but there were several. There's-
Myers used to do all those for us,
Brian?
and I asked for him to be reached out to, and that didn't get done.
Yeah, that's my fault, because I remember you said that to me, and when Ted and I were talking, I didn't share that name with him.
I kind of figured.
I have one word of caution for council, if I may. When we were doing streetscape, and concrete work was being done, all of a sudden the inspector, or inspectors, perhaps if it's plural, I think it was one, really put the poor concrete guys through the ringer on that very issue, and they were out there grinding it and everything else to try to bring it to compliance, and of course it had to be ripped out. So we want to make sure that whatever we do, I don't know who's inspecting now in regard to that, but we want to make sure that we get that in right, or we'll have that same thing all over
We
again.
gotta do it right, for sure.
You know, because it was minuscule, what was going on
Quarter
down in front of
inch.
the barber shop and what was going down across the street. For me, from a common sense standpoint, didn't make sense.
I think you're allowed a quarter of an inch out of compliance, right? You're allowed a quarter of an inch transition change, I think according to ADA.
Okay, if it's allowed, it's in compliance.
Yes. But I'm saying you're allowed up to a quarter of an inch. Anything out, a greater bump than a quarter of an inch,
Quarter inch,
lip or trip or something like that.
quarter inch per foot.
Yeah.
So you got the slope in the direction you're traveling, you have the slope,
Left to right, which is
cross-sectional
2%.
slope in the directional that you're traveling, and then you have things that you can roll over if you have a disability in your
Right.
wheelchair. And yeah, a quarter inch threshold getting in and out of the facility.
What about my scooter?
Quarter inch, you're fine.
That's not allowed.
Well, you should take it down there, downtown, and run over those things.
See, that's how it works out.
I'm going.
I think that's a good idea.
Thanks.
It's all right, you got nothing better to do, right?
Public comment?
Anything else, Tana?
not for me.
Thank you.
That's it.
Miscellaneous business? Anybody else signed up to talk?
Just miscellaneous business. We talked about it a little bit beforehand. I think we're gonna probably work on getting quotes for internet. This thing's been dropping down like crazy all night long here, so.
We gotta have good internet. I mean, my goodness. We're a business, we're a town.
Right.
We're
Do-
currently
is-
paying $100.92 a month for, what was it,
300 by 10.
down and 10 up, so.
And I'm getting 40.
Is Xfinity here
Oh, it's horrible.
or?
MediaCom,
It's MediaCom.
That's who we have, right?
yes.
But
MediaCom.
did Xfinity, did Baseline come through Xfinity?
Basically, Xfinity's here, or Xfinity, I believe, is through this area as well, and Baseline is in this area.
I know they started here and they started hooking up, and then Xfinity said, you need to shut down, run ours. They said no, they offered them a nice package and they shut down and ran theirs. I went out and talked to the guys and they ran through my backyard. I said, what happened to Baseline? They made it worth their while. But I knew they started in Pioneer and they had some people
Right,
hooked up.
Baseline, yeah, like the church here is on Baseline.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so, and we have down days, but it's down hours, it's typically in the middle of the night, you know. They email it out. We just need to do something, because like I said, we're paying for a service we're not necessarily receiving, so.
What are we paying for?
100 for,
$3.92.
No, not money, for speed.
350 down according to what the bill said,
Yeah.
and 10 up. And we're getting 30 down.
What?
Yeah, we're getting more up, so look at the bright side.
See, I might be doing better than that on Frontier with my band
DSL,
lines.
yep, so.
I'm paying $60 a month and mine's 380 down, 390.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably because you're getting better reception because of that scooter.
Thank you, John.
Gotta point that out.
You get the quote.
You gotta have fun up here.
Any other
No, I just wanted to make sure. that we
miscellaneous? Who's gonna head that up, Tyler?
I can call.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
You'll have that ready for next meeting?
Should.
Thank you.
You need a meeting, or you need a motion to adjourn, sir?
No.
No, okay.
Anybody else? Anybody? Going once, twice? Meeting's adjourned.
Oh.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.